Welcome to your 10-Minute Manager Toolkit.
Today I want to talk to you about hot stoves. I want to talk to you about an analogy, a model, a metaphor, an idea that I just find really useful when explaining to people how they should go about setting standards and correcting things that they don't believe are up to standard or outside of acceptable. It's an old model, it's an old theory, but I quite like it. I've always found it useful, so I'm going to talk to you through it today. So let's go. This is where you and I differ. The advantages of medical knowledge is it is essentially objective. It is most of the time a question of object truth or not. If you're getting into social constructs, then things get a little bit grayer. And a physio friend of mine found himself doing a lot of counselling because that is part of perceptions of pain. And pain management was part of his job. So he was as surprised as I am to realize he's getting into more of the abstract social constructs. But I digress. In social sciences, we are much more reliant upon models of limited explanation, models that have limitations and are probably never going to be fully the truth. Today, I want to talk you through a model. And this is one that was written in the 1960s, kicked around a little bit, but it's almost entirely forgotten. It's probably because the focus of it is how to discipline without people resenting it, which is really not the type of thing that's in favor, that's popular or current or in vogue within HR and modern management theory. How to discipline people without resentment. But on the other hand, the model's really good and it's really useful. And I heard it in 2005 and I've sort of been using it and talking people through it for 20 years now. And I've almost always got, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's actually a useful tool for helping me understand how to manage people. So let's talk it through. It's called the hot stove model. It's by a guy, McGregor, who was quite a big name in the 1960s management theory, but that's beside the point. And basically it goes like this. How do you give direction or instruction or correction or address behavior that you have concerns with, that you take exception to? How do you deal with things that you are seeing that you need to correct because they are incorrect? The model basically says this. Imagine a hot stove. What I want you to imagine is one of those red coils from your old 1960s, 70s, 80s, old-fashioned ovens. The coil things with a little bit of tinfoil underneath that glow red hot when they're turned on. So that's what I want you to picture in your head. A hot red stove, a hot red element. This is what you need to be. And then let me explain why. There's 4 characteristics of that stove that you also need to share. The first thing is predictable. The stove is red hot. It is glowing. You can almost feel the heat come from it. It is predictable that the stove will burn you. Secondly, it is immediate. It will burn you immediately. It won't be later. It won't be an hour later. It won't be a day later. It won't be a minute later. It is immediate. There's a real cause and effect to touching it and getting hurt. The stove is consistent. It will burn you every time. Whether or not it's your first, your second, the third, the fourth. However many times it is touched, it will burn. The fourth is impersonality. It doesn't matter who, it will burn. This glowing hot stove will burn everyone and anyone who touches it. So let's go through those again. But again, this time, what I want you to think about is you as a manager need to be all 4 of those things about incorrect behavior, incorrect performance, incorrect actions. You need to be predictable that you will not be happy with things that are not correct. Your staff need to be able to predict what it is that you will be unhappy with. So there's a whole lesson in this, but it's a really interesting one, that a good manager is a predictable manager, that people know what she wants without her even needing to say it. So a manager that other people can predict and know in advance what they think, that works really well. An unpredictable manager, you don't know if she'll be happy with this or not happy with that from one day to another, from a Monday to a Tuesday. That creates a lot of uncertainty. So you need to be predictable about what is correct and what is incorrect. Secondly, immediacy, immediate. If something is wrong, that needs to be dealt with immediately. The later down the track, the more confusing, the less clear, the less obvious, the less connected things are. I'm sure you're probably familiar with this when it comes to dealing with children, but if you're telling a child off days later for a thing that they've done, you don't get a lot of behavior change out of that because they can't make the connection very well. What it is that I did wrong, and if there's a big distance between the incorrect action and the punishment, they don't process that data well. Adults are a little bit more complex, but they're not that far off. That we want things to be dealt with immediately so that people can make the cognitive shift to do things differently next time. Third one, consistency. You want to be consistent. Every time something is not done to a certain standard, things are not correct or not how they should be, you are consistent in addressing that concern every time. This is similar but different from predictable, because people can be predictable, but they can be inconsistent. That one day you can get away with it, and the next day it's a ton of bricks. You don't want to have that inconsistency. You don't want people trying their luck. This time might be one of the times that they don't get pulled up on it, or that this time you might not have a problem with it. They can come in 20 minutes late, half an hour late. It's not a big deal, even though it was last time. It had been previously, but it wasn't for someone. It hadn't been another time. Fourth one, impartiality. We want to be impartial. We don't want favorites. We don't want nepotism. We don't want any perception that who you are has any bearing over what is acceptable. The best workplaces are where everybody is held to the same standard. Some of the most dysfunctional is where the standards differ and matter depending on who you are. So let's rattle through those again. To be a good manager, when it comes to addressing incorrect things, you want to be a hot stove. You want to be predictable. You want to be immediate. You want to be consistent, and you want to be impartial. If you can do all of those things, you're just going to be really clear to people. They know where they stand with you. They know what's right. They know what's wrong. And also they can see that in other people because, and this is a whole topic for another day, a worker relies upon their manager to fix what is wrong. If the manager is not doing their job, that worker is going to get either frustrated or they're going to try and sort it out themselves. We don't want either of those two things. We don't want a co-worker taking another co-worker to task over how they think they should be doing their job, nor do we want them disengaging or leaving because we're not sorting out what they perceive as a problem. Fixing problems is part of the job. We need to not shirk from it. And the best approach that we should take to fixing problems is the hot stove. Predictable, immediate, consistent, impartial. hopefully you found that useful. I've always found that useful, and I've taught many a manager through, and they've often said, that makes a lot of sense. I actually can put this into practice. So it's not just one of those short, sharp sugar hits of intellectual placebos where that sounds great, but do you actually change anything? No, this is one of which I have gone back to people and I said, no, I can work with this.
As always, there's lots of other ways that we can help. Have a look at our website, Managingmedical.nz, if you are either in the healthcare industry or that you are the manager of white-collar professionals. You'll probably find it's very relevant. It fits nicely. Alternatively, if you are in the trades or you are in more industrial, more construction, or something equivalent, check out our other website, Managingtradies.nz, probably more your flavour. Alternatively, if you're interested in listening to another podcast where I go a little bit deeper, get a little bit more psychological, a little bit more philosophical, try my other podcast, your 12-minute HR lesson. It's not for everyone, but it is for people who want a more complex and comprehensive understanding of the complexities of managing people in the workplace. If not, not a problem. I'll catch you next time.